It was the era of Ted Bundy, the Zodiac Killer, the East Area rapist, and a string of murders in the 80s across the South. The killings drew speculation that another serial killer was on the hunt. Leslie Ackerson has tonight's Appalachian Unsolved.
2 weeks ago, authorities discovered the badly decomposed body of a red-haired woman in Cheatham County near Nashville. Last week, another redhead was discovered near Corbin, Kentucky. Now authorities in Greene County discovered the body of yet another redheaded victim. The string of homicides have become known as the Redhead Murders.
In this case, more than any I've ever seen in my career, was publicized just crazy.
All were discovered along major interstates.
There were some cases in Tennessee, but also in Kentucky and in different parts of the country, and they actually formed a task force.
To discuss a string of murders.
It was dubbed the Redheaded Task Force. It was dubbed that by the media. It wasn't dubbed that by us.
Public attention just really drew to this idea of one man killing all of these redheads.
Let's face it, people are interested in mysteries and people that commit those crimes, wanting to know what makes those people tick, who it is, and why they do it. You never know what evil lurks in people. It was New Year's Day, and I was the only one that answered the telephone. So I went up to the crime scene. The body was found over a guardrail down an embankment. We recovered the blanket and what we felt was a body inside of it. She had ligature marks around her neck, which gives you a pretty good indication she'd been strangled.
An unknown woman dumped off an interstate in 1985. It was one of many similar stories stretching across the South. Decades would pass until she'd be identified as Tina Marie Farmer. And decades would pass until the blanket wrapped around her dead body gave the clues to her killer.
In December, we announced that we had discovered that DNA located on her body and material that she was wrapped in contained the DNA of Jerry Johns.
Jerry Johns has been dead since 2015, but his name wasn't unfamiliar to law enforcement. He'd been a top suspect in the 80s after assaulting, kidnapping, and attempting to kill a young red-haired woman in Knoxville.
Johns had came into Knoxville with his brother and went to a strip club called The Catch, and he had spent some money with a particular female down there and had enticed her to come to his room.
Brought up this story that he gave her $200, and he took these two $100 bills and he ripped them in half, and he gave her half and said, "You'll get the rest later." During that interaction, things went awry, took her hostage, then used her own shirt to bind her by the hands.
And had a gun and pulled a gun on her and had taken her to a remote area.
She asked Johns, "Are you going to kill me?" And he said, "Yes." And she said, "Why?" And she said, "Because you're a nuisance." And then strangled her. He then fled using her vehicle and left her for dead.
She didn't die that night. The evidence of that crime still sits in a vault today. Her survival would mean a prison sentence for Johns and a chance for investigators to learn more about who he was.
You know, Johns was a very intelligent guy.
A military veteran with an above-average IQ and a family who drove trucks for a living.
They did find out that he was well-read, and he even bragged about reading about serial killing, but he never admitted anything.
In prison, Johns wasn't quiet, writing letters for his case. His family wrote too, a 9-year-old son asking for his father's release. But suspicion of Johns faded from the public eye until he was linked to Tina Farmer.
It was a surreal moment to discover after all those years that we had identified, who this killer was. But it was deflating to know that he had died, just shortly before our discovery of this DNA.
It would have done my heart good if all that had come out and he was still living, because he was such an arrogant person. Perfect fit as being a psychopath.
The mystery remains who killed those other women. Is Johns the answer?
It would not surprise me that at least there's one or two more that Jerry Johns is involved in.
To be able to say that he is the guy, we're not there. Just because the color of someone's hair is the same, and even just because the cases are the same, it doesn't always add up to enough. But we are definitely open to that possibility. Are we going to get there? I don't know, but we're not going to stop trying to connect anything that will connect.
In Knoxville, Leslie Ackerson, 10 News.
Well, to learn about TBI's next steps and other details about the Redhead cases, head to WBIR.com.